My name is Hoshi Gaswala. Happy to be here. This is our first episode in a new series called Master Strokes, where we are speaking to leading industry folks, leaders who've been responsible for transformation, leaders who've been responsible for change, leaders who are doing things differently. I'm very excited to be doing this, and today I have with me Milind Nagnur. Milind is the CTO of Kotak, the Kotak Group, and Milind's come in a couple of months ago from the US with huge experience. Was speaking to him earlier. He's talking of a total transformation journey at the bank and at his organization. And Rishi Arora of IBM, who I lean upon. Like I always say that business world at the end of the day is a platform. I'm neither a finance guy nor a tech guy. We try and put content together. We bring in. So I'm going to lean on Milind for finance related domain information, and he also knows a lot about technology. And Rishi, being the finance leader for IBM India, will also have finance knowledge, but a lot more technology knowledge is what I'm going to lead. He's also the leader for the banking services domain in APAC. Without any further dialogue from me, this is their session. I'm going to start with you, Milind. My first question, that the banking industry is going through continuous transformation. We've seen a lot more in the past couple of years. What are the key changes that you're seeing in the environment from changes in technology and changes in regulators' policies? All yours.
No, thank you. Firstly, thank you for having me in this great session. Looking forward to a great conversation with you both. So in terms of changes in banking, let me answer that in two parts. One is from a customer perspective, what are the changes we are noticing in customers' behavior and how they interact with their banks? And secondly, your second part of your question on regulatory changes. So 90+% of our transactions are now happening through our digital and mobile platforms. And therefore, it's very important for us to treat with the highest priority the considerations around performance, availability, and user experience on our digital platforms, because that is becoming the primary and dominant channel for customers to interact with their bank today. So that's one huge big change that's shaping our industry. The other change shaping our industry, as you know, is tech companies like Apple have issued credit cards and now a savings account on top of that. And so while tech companies, just like they are toying with the idea of banking services, tech forward banks like Kotak Bank are investing in the best engineering talent from fintechs and best product talent from tech companies. So as an example, our chief customer officer who recently joined us comes with 18 years of experience with Amazon in the US. So that comes with an intent and mandate of heavy customer centricity and customer focus in how we conduct our transactions, both digitally and in person or through the call center. So we are seeing this massive seismic shift, I would say the integration of banks, tech companies, fintechs in how we offer our best services to the customers in the most convenient channels. In terms of regulatory changes, regulators are technically very, very savvy, and they are deeply inspecting the operations at the banks, which is a good thing for the robustness of the industry as a whole, because we are in the trust business and it's very important that happens. Secondly, regulators are also opening up the market to new digital players and emerging players. So that creates a fantastic environment, I believe, of collaboration, as well as up-leveling in the standards that we have in incumbent companies such as Kotak, up-leveling the standards around technology, performance, and customer service.
Thank you. Rishi, I'll come to you. I have one more question for Milind. What are some of the key challenges that you are facing because of the rapid changes in technology? How do you remain agile and ensure that you remain ahead, given that there's a lot of competition from traditional banking and new generation players?
I feel the way to stay ahead is a completely different way of working, and new ways of operating, I feel, are at the crux of the matter in terms of staying ahead in this very dynamic environment today. One example is, I think gone are the days where you have these long drawn project plans of 12 to 18 months for implementation of any technology projects, where the first artifact that ever gets in the hands of a customer comes after 12 months or 15 months. And the world has changed by then, number one. Number two, you are also backloading all the risk of these projects in the final phase of the project after spending 12 to 18 months of lots of time and resources. That was a traditional methodology of working in technology in general. So contrast that with new ways of working where even on very complex technical projects, we now have 4 to 6 week cycles. So within 4 to 6 weeks, we must put something in hands of the end users and customers. Even if it's a small feature, a small functionality, a small portion of a small slice of the big pie, put it in the hands of the customers, you test and learn, you get feedback, and you adopt. And one of the things Nish and I have initiated after we joined the firm is we have pretty much reworked every project plan in the company in this fashion. So I think one way of staying ahead is staying agile, and in the ways that I just explained.
Thank you. Very valid points. Yeah. The lead times on anything new has come down significantly, in some cases days and weeks. Rishi, IBM, 100-year-old company, a lot of experience, and I'm going to turn towards you. What are you seeing on how your customers are approaching, or how are you helping customers approach these rapid technology shifts and navigating the ever-changing environment? Example without naming, and I don't mean to put you on a spot, but example without naming a customer would be happy with. So.
Sure, and thank you for having me here. Looking forward to this conversation. Milind alluded to a lot of points, right? He spoke about customer experience. He spoke about non-traditional players who are now, who are, if I can call them, competition. So I think the confluence of, macroeconomic stresses which are there today, and the emergence of non-traditional players like fintechs, right? I think they are offering a challenge like never before to the banks and financial institutes, right? Are banks responding to this challenge? Yes, I believe the banks are responding to this challenge. But if I look at traditional banking operators, right, I think they will have to continuously reinvent themselves. And I want to stress on the word continuous, because innovation is not a one-time exercise. We did a research pretty recently in collaboration with Beyond, which is basically a banking industry architecture network, right? And we spoke to about 2,000 CXOs just to get a view of where are the investments actually happening, where are the technology investments actually happening. And the theme which is emerging from that is twofold. One is around, any investment should result in a higher financial performance. And higher financial performance can be enhanced revenues or reduced costs, right? So that is the priority for CXOs across the globe. If I just dwell down a bit deeper into this research, right? The two areas which actually come out, one is around availability of infrastructure. And when I talk about availability, I talk about flexibility, and I also talk about scalability without disruption, most important, right? So that's one theme. How can you make your infra available and scalable, right? The second is around use of data and AI. In fact, about 78% of these respondents, what they said is they have already embarked on data programs in their, in their organization, right? So, according to me, right, what the two aspects which all banks and financial institutes will need to look at is interoperability, right, and portability. See, as the consumption increases and you see, all the numbers are projecting towards the consumptions to increase. As the consumption increases, right, the data will increase. Organizations which can then use this data, and by use this data I mean in an effective way, right, are organizations which would become more successful, according to me. I just want to end by saying, there are OSINT regulations which have come in now, right? Open Credit Enablement Network. I think the consumer, right? You and we are outside of our organizations, we are consumer of banking services and products, right? I think the consumer is the king, right? Because I think this era is also going to be an era of collaboration and competition both. You can collaborate on a platform, right, where you don't have competing products, and at the same time you can compete in a market where you have similar products, right? So it's a very interesting time we are all living in.
Thank you, Rishi. Milind, coming back to you, what role has tech played in your organization over the past, few years in these changes? And can you call out a few changes where technology has played a critical role, to change your business around? And what do you see technology actually doing for you over the next couple of years?
So, technology is the basis of our entire P&Ls within our company now. One example is our 811 business, where through a combination of video KYC and through a full cloud adoption in terms of how the application is hosted and serviced and operated, 811 is a great example of an entire P&L running with technology. So those are and then I would recommend the listeners to also Google for the Cherry platform to understand another technology driven business model which probably would not be commonly thought of in a pure finance type of environment. So these are a couple of examples where technology is driving new P&Ls in the company, and those P&Ls are doing really well. In terms of what customers and team members and employees and stakeholders can expect in terms of change over the next 3 years, in terms of our employees and team members, they can expect for us to operate more and more like a tech company, a group of techies who are creating great software products to satisfy the needs of our consumers. There is a lot of emphasis on the end user customer experience and customer journeys, which is very important and the starting point. But most of what you see and like in apps, actually the sleek apps that everyone likes to use, the real part of the iceberg that's under the water, I would say in that analogy, is the resiliency and robustness of the underlying infrastructure. And the performance, the availability is what builds trust of the consumers into that particular technology. And that requires a deep end-to-end engineering focus, and also a level of architecture excellence in how all your backends are designed, whether they are your core product processors, core banking, introducing event-based architectures and edge caches on top of our core product processors which service our card business or our savings and loans accounts business. We announced launch of the Jarvis portal for our wholesale banking customers. So these are just great examples where the tip of the iceberg is the user experience you experience as a customer, but below the surface of the water is a huge emphasis on a very solid and robust architecture, infrastructure, and excellence in how we operate the platform. So our team members and employees can expect a lot of that in terms of what we will focus on and operate on a day-to-day basis. And from our customers' lens, in the next 3 years to come, you should be excited about a continuous series of new features and offerings that are going to come to you through the preferred channels. The customers have given us the mandate. By doing more than 95% of their transactions through our mobile and digital channels, they have given us the mandate that that is their channel of choice right now in terms of the numbers. So customers can expect great new features coming to them continuously in the next 3 years that they can enjoy.
I have a rejoinder to that, but I'm going to kind of save it for the closing remarks. Rishi, again, IBM, 100 years, trusted partner across industries, including financial services, led some of the largest transformation projects over the years. What are the emerging trends in technology that you see becoming very pertinent to, growth now over the next few years?
Before I answer that, Milind, we work very closely on the Cherry platform with Kotak, right? And it's basically the collaboration and the competition era which I was talking about. This platform, kind of offers a one-stop shop for all wealth management needs of end consumers like you and me. Coming back to the trends, right? I think organizations will need to invest in newer, efficiencies, and let me elaborate on what I mean by that, right? We have IBV, which is basically IBM's Institute of Business Value, and we spoke to about 300 financial services professionals across across 40 countries, right? And I think the investments again are in the area of enhanced financial performance, right? Majority of the respondents spoke about data being siloed. Majority of these respondents spoke about they not being able to derive value out of that data. Majority of these respondents spoke about data not being consistent, right? So I think a trend which I foresee happening is democratization of data, right? How can you have data in your organizations which is consistent and more importantly reliable? Because on the basis of this data, you are actually making decisions, right? Transportability of data is also a big consideration. It cannot be in one place all the time, right? So all these elements of data being consistent, reliable, and being seamlessly moving across the organization is something which organizations will look at going forward. Now, once you have data in place, how do you make use of it, right? I am a big believer in organizations which will understand data well. They can run more pointed campaigns for their customers. Their customer experience improves, and so does their revenue. So I think investment in deep analytics technologies will be the way forward for many banking and financial services institutes. If I just extend this to workflows and AI, right? I spoke about AI earlier. See, a lot of organizations have embarked on department-wise or business-wise automation, right? Are these giving benefits? Yes, these are definitely giving benefits to organizations. But now if you just extend this to enterprise-wide, yes, there will be different handshakes, right? But I think, if you look at automation across the enterprise, the benefits which you can derive, the reduction in operations costs which you can derive from them are going to be a scale up. Yeah. Last but not the least, we all Milind spoke about digital transformation and digital being the channel for consumers, right? With digital comes a lot of security demands, right? I think gone are the times where you can look at perimeter security and and all of it, right? I think today we have to look at zero trust security, and what I mean by that is basically no person or no device should access your system without proper authentication. If I just extend this to, there are certain guidelines around adaptive authentication which have been released by regulators, right? So how do we, if I make my consumers go through 4-5 level of different checks, right? Will the experience be dented? But I can at the same time not compromise on security. So how do I balance security and experience moving forward, right? So I think these are the trends which organizations will have to consider as they embark on the digital transformation journeys.
I'm going to move to what we've been hearing for a very long time, but it's here and now, and it's sustainability, and everyone's kind of actually once seeing people practice it. So Milind, long-term success comes hand in hand with environmentally conscious goals. Several reports indicate that leaders who are successfully integrating sustainability and digital transformation have higher operating margins. So, that's actually now coming home, the benefits. What's your view on this, and what all have you all as an organization done and achieved in terms of sustainability until now, and what are sustainability plans for the next 12 months? And this is very relevant because we speak across titles, across companies. I'm hearing this even from finance leaders, sales leaders, all of it.
So I'll answer the sustainability environment question in 3 parts. One is all our term loan credit proposals now require, so anything above a certain threshold of lending requires a mandatory section on environment and sustainability criteria for the current and prospective operations of that business. So it's a very conscious.
Actually, when you're lending money, okay, do you actually ensure that the receiver of that loan is following certain norms?
Absolutely.
Wow.
So that's part one, and there are caveats to what you said in terms of based on certain thresholds and for the term loans that we provide in the credit appraisals. So that's part one. Part two is we are seeing the more we digitize, the better results we are seeing in terms of the carbon footprint. So that's a well-known fact. So whether it's replacing print statements with more digital statements and so on. So that is obviously known to everyone. So I won't emphasize on that. And finally, the third part is the community interventions, the investments that we make as a firm in projects related to climate, environment, education, and sustainability in the community investments that we make. So that would be, and that's available to our investors in our investor relationships portal. So those would be the 3 aspects I would highlight.
Wow, but I'm quite impressed. You aren't just driving sustainability as a practice norm in your organization, but you're also ensuring where externally you all can influence it with customers. You all are doing it. Rishi, IBM's been speaking a lot about sustainability and doing a lot. How are you all helping businesses, drive sustainability into their operating models to help them grow in a responsible and profitable?
I would want to start by a recent program which we did, with TNC. This is that time of the year where, where residue burning in Punjab is a big challenge, right? And it has a definite impact on the environment. Yeah. So we recently launched a CRM Connect portal for farmers in Punjab, right? And the agricultural community at large in Punjab, where the farmers can look at the best practices to reduce this impact of residue burning. Yeah. So we are, I'm very proud to say that we are doing real work which is impacting the environment in a positive way. See, there have been discussions on environment or sustainability for a very long time, right? Probably for a decade. But but the real action has started only in the last couple of years, and that too when the impact of climate change is very visible. Yeah, I will quote a couple of research outputs. IDC, if I look at IDC research, cloud computing, right, can actually reduce about a billion metric tons of emissions over the next 4 years. That's what the research says. Again, IBM Business Value, Institute of Business Value, right? You know, majority of the respondents believe that, there is a real push from the boards and from the investor community to see real action on sustainability. And by real action, I also mean a lot of transparency which will come in. These respondents also believe that by investing in sustainability programs, the financial performance of their organizations will be enhanced. So I look at sustainability not only as a operations challenge or an operating challenge, but also as a huge business opportunity. Let me just now talk about technologies which IBM is helping organizations adopt, be it hybrid cloud technology, be it data and AI. Right, we are working with many organizations across our country and across the globe, for organizations to leverage this technology. And if I give you pointed benefits which these technologies can actually give in, right? For example, efficient and more resilient supply chains. How do you react, or how do you proactively manage these acute climate events which happen? How can you have report or data on your ESG parameters? See, what can be monitored can definitely be corrected. Yeah. So I want to summarize by saying, doing good and doing well can go hand in hand. And all of us in IBM, believe very strongly on that. Doing good is doing good in business. Doing well is doing well for the environment.
That's kind of good, because I'm seeing post at least the past, recent events that companies actually taking a holistic approach to, environment, all stakeholders. I have to personally thank you for what you're doing for the Punjab farmers, because I bear an AQI of 800, 900 during winter because I live in New Delhi. So thank you. I hope it makes an impact. Milind, last question. How do you see the future shaping up over the next 3 to 5 years? I know it's a long time, banking industry, but I think you're defining yourself as very tech-enabled, so 3 to 5 years could be a long time. And your advice to organizations, to grow by creating a culture of innovation, and how do they stay competitive?
I think a huge part of the culture piece, and which we are driving actively at our firm also, is the ability or creating an environment where team members can be deeply self-critical of the products that we are building and the work that we are doing, and do it in a safe environment. Because when we are deeply self-introspective and in our internal meetings, when we are deeply critical of the products we build, looking at it from a customer lens, I think that's step one towards a culture of change and innovation. Because if you compare that scenario with a scenario where we are trying to emphasize on the status quo, or we are trying to justify status quo, obviously there would be less innovation in that kind of environment. So firstly, I would say the culture that we are very actively driving towards is the ability to speak freely for every team member, and to deeply criticize their own work in a positive manner, to say that, look, the way we are doing this feature in this platform could be better in this way. And that coming from the person who actually built that platform is most meaningful and impactful. So all our forums and meetings now encourage a lot of this. That's the culture change. I would say one culture change towards fostering innovation, and overall in terms of what customers can look forward in the next 3 to 5 years, by the nimbleness and agility we are building on the front ends, with deep architecture excellence on the back ends, we are positioning ourselves to provide newer and amazing experiences to our customers, to experience newer products and newer services, satisfy their needs towards financial well-being. And so I don't think it's about predicting specific technologies, but it's having a good handle on every technology that's emerging right now to make sure that we are in a great position through our agile operating models to quickly switch and change and amplify things that are working and de-scope things that are rejected by the market. So my emphasis on being innovative in the next 3 to 5 years is more around that operating model and the ability to test and learn, to deliver quickly, to draw back features that did not get customer response, and to amplify on features that customers want.
So agility, adapting once again.
Yeah.
Thank you.